Hi, can you hear
Yes,
me?
I can hear you.
Yes, I don't have to wear my stupid headphones.
I'm super, super stoked about this topic just because of the kind of like the wild stories of it. So before you were getting on, I was just kind of previewing like, the topic. Our nutrition coach is full of shit. Like, what can how can you go into the internet and like if you're watching TikToks and that sort of stuff and know what stuff is like valuable and takeaways and what stuff is just like, I am not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Because we were talking and there's some wild, wild things that we see online.
Right, and I think now with TikTok, of course, and the younger generation, and just like how many platforms there are. I mean, we
Yeah.
have Instagram, Facebook, um, Twitter, Lemonade, which I'm not even on yet. There are so many avenues and so many different people that you're seeing on there.
Yep.
So I think it's really hard to know who can you trust because Susie Joe posting a picture of her like shake and like, oh, I'm doing this shake, you don't know who to trust.
Yeah.
And why we really want to talk about this today.
Yeah, 100%. And, that's a really great kind of point to go off of. Susie, who's posting her shake, she's like, I'm down 50 pounds and I have this shake every day. Well, what might we want to know about like Susie? And this is kind of the part where sometimes we throw certifications or just qualifications that a coach has out the window because we're like, ooh, that person's getting results. I want what they have. But like, what actually matters? And I know we have, some common certifications or just like even our own experience into like what is making us qualified to even have this conversation. And so if you want to kind of share a little bit about your experience and then I can share some of mine.
Yeah, so I've been working with people in person in different gyms and nutrition coaching for 4.5 years now, which it feels like a long ago that
Yeah, right.
but of course, certified personal trainer, I have that. And I kind of chuckle when I like say this one, but originally getting certified with NASM for a nutrition specialist, I couldn't even tell you what was special about that.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing with we both have in common is that it's continued education and mentorship.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me is I have not stopped learning and pushing my knowledge, and the common thing of like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know things. And I think
Right.
that's what helps both of us be really great coaches, that we continue to get experience.
I agree because one of my professors in college, I went to school for nutritional sciences. He used to always say nutrition is just as much as a science as it is an art. Because yes, the science can tell us, oh, let's do this for fat loss or how to build muscle. But each human is going to be so different. They're going to have different experiences. They're going to have a different history. And so the more that we work with clients, we get more experience. And then it's like, oh, I'm stuck at a roadblock here. I'm going to figure out how to research this. I'm going to keep pushing myself so that like I might keep running into roadblocks, but I'm not going to be the type of coach that's just like, oh, let me try and put a band-aid over this and make it appear better if you don't know the answer. And like also like red flag, if a coach or somebody on the internet claims that they know everything, they don't. I don't care. They do not.
Flags that we have so many to go.
I'm like, the red flags are literally gold. But I agree as far as like continuing that education or just being in a space that forces you to show up and like step up to a certain plate. Because I feel like, especially with health and fitness, like when we start getting complacent about like, oh yeah, this is how you lose fat and like this is how you're going to get toned, if it's just like the same shit over and over again, your tactics are going to stop working for someone eventually because they're going to be experiencing something that you might not have any knowledge over. And so I think it's always important to keep doing that.
Yeah, and just like kind of like what I would say with clients that maybe have like a more a background that I'm not familiar with, I always remind them that like doctors are practicing medicine.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, not saying we're doctors at all, but just a good metaphor for you. At the end of the day, you know, we can do all the things that we have in our tool belt to help someone lose weight. But if their body has a big back history we are unaware of, or even the client is unaware of,
Right.
might not lose weight.
Right.
So I think that's really important that, you know, that we both have and any coach should have, and we're going to get into green flags, of course, but is that aspect of their continuing their education in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And I think it's also so important that, like you said, we're gonna do our best with the knowledge that we're given, the tools that we have, but that doesn't necessarily mean that one coach is going to fix all of your problems. You know, there's a lot of trial and error sometimes, just because when you're working with somebody, like any sort of healthcare practitioner, there's a lot that's kind of just like guesswork. Like, here's the science, but let's see how your body reacts. And so that's also something I wish we kind of talked about more, and we're like, it was more known, so that people can kind of have this expectation of like, yeah, I'm gonna try it and let's see what happens, and let's be okay with this. And that's, I think, part of the problem with like jumping from all these different diets and wanting to try different things, because when we're not seeing those instant results, it's like, oh, this is wrong. When really, science, sometimes we're making some guesses based off of what we know, and that's kind of, you just got to give it some time. But I agree with kind of like all of that. And Maddie and I were in a mentorship container, and just being around other coaches, it helps you to learn what you don't know. You're like, ooh, I would have never thought of it that way. And it's so helpful. So like education and just like putting yourself in a supportive environment is really what's also going to help you be a standout coach. And again, what qualifies us to be having this conversation, because like, we know our shit, we're damn good coaches, and it's not by luck. Like, it's not just like, oh, we got lucky. Like, nah, we put in the work.
Right. And that's, I think, where we both get, on different levels, but I'm sure similar, frustrated when people with little to no experience just buy into a program, technically probably an MLM program, and all of a sudden they're a coach.
Yeah.
And totally, I know, I totally can be like, I can understand if you have a passion for health and fitness. Maybe that's the first avenue you went down because you didn't know what else was out there, because there's a lot.
Yeah.
I can, commend you on that. But it's just the fact that the path you're going down is not like, you're not going to have the knowledge, you're not going to have the help you need or the tools that you really need to help give your client the best experience.
Right. And I like the part where you said, you know, we're going to support women doing the things that they want to do. You want to try and get into the coaching space? Amazing. But I'm always going to be weary of trusting something too quickly. And if, you join something like Octavia, and it's like all of a sudden you can be a coach because you paid money. It's like, well, that doesn't qualify anybody. Like, anybody watching this right now, watching the replay, you could go on and like become a coach. Literally. And that is hard, because I'm sure there are some women in those programs that like are really passionate, but it's like they're not setting themselves up to have the best experience, or even being able to help people, because it's you gotta have the tools. Like, you're looking in the toolbox, there ain't no tools in there. Like, they're screwed.
The Octavia.
Yeah.
So you're but yeah, we were, just talking here about like different things that we see people get certification wise, or they become a coach, and Optavia is one of them, we know, and they have very few tools in the toolbox, just what Optavia like shoves down their throat. I would even say, to call out the one that I have through NASM, like, that's a very big name.
Yeah.
And be totally 100% transparent. The majority of the tools in development and ability to coach and help any body, like through workout progressions, all of those things, it's really important when you're helping like the general population. That's learned either from someone, from mentorship, or like on the job.
Yes.
A things like NASM that I learned from a fitness standpoint, still promoting not to squat below parallel. I don't know why I'm doing my pinky, but pinky.
Yeah, number one.
Number one was not squatting below parallel. That is so ancient, so ancient. Yeah. And then on the nutrition side, talking about how eating too much protein can be harmful for your kidneys, which has been 100% like, this is not a thing unless you have a former kidney problem. So all that to say is that, yes, I have those credentials and many others do, but it took more education and mentorship to know, oh, okay, this is really not true. So if I were to like coach my clients that way, they would not be getting the best experience or the best up-to-date knowledge either.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great point, because even though you could have gone out into the world and done, coaching and started working with clients, that is still not enough. Like, I'm pretty confident in saying that, like, enough is never enough. Like, it's always going to be something else, whether, we're in mentorships, you're taking different certifications, you're listening to podcasts on topics that you're like, I'm trying to hear from like the best of the best. And if I can like hear 30 minutes of them explaining something that I'm having trouble with, that's what makes a quality coach. It's like never being satisfied. You're good. You're qualified. Your strengths, but you're not afraid to be like, you know what? I'm going to keep going for more, because I genuinely want to help my clients. And I genuinely want to be able to give advice and support that's not just like some BS, like, oh, here's this powder, and like have this powder and make like this weird ass potato pancake thing and like lose weight. Cause like that's what works.
Right. And it's not to say NASM is bad. That's a great starting point. That's way better starting point than being a Optavia coach.
Sure.
But it's just not enough to what your clients like are truly going to need. And not to say everyone's going to work with a high level person, but if you're still telling people not to squat below parallel, we have a problem.
Right. Especially you have, we both work with women, and it's like women want like toned arms. They want like a nice butt. They want like a toned stomach. Like they are wanting to build muscle. And if we're going off of like old knowledge, it's like, damn, we're going to have a hard time helping you achieve those goals. So it's also like listening to what our clients want and knowing that we feel confident, we know how to help them get there.
Right. And yeah, so overall, like you need more education as a coach if you want to be in this space. And if you're looking for a coach, make sure at least they have some starting credentials.
Yeah.
Whether it's ACE or whether it's NASM, whatever you kind of end up in, but just the continued aspect with that, I think is super important.
I agree. And like, if you are, let's say you're interviewing with a coach, because that's what it really is. When you're applying to work with a coach, you're interviewing with them. Ask them questions. Ask them, like, I get this all the time, like, what did you go to school for? What are your certifications in? And I confidently say, like, I list my little dossier. I tell them my experiences because I'm not afraid.
Right.
Because I'm confident. What's a red flag is somebody not answering or giving pushback. And like,
yes,
you're entitled to that information. If you're investing you're investing your money, your time, your health, your body to a coach, like ask those questions. That's why we bring this up. We want you to say, all right, if I ever go into this situation, I'm asking the questions because I want to know that I'm in good hands.
Right. 100%. So talking about red flags, all the red flags that you guys should be looking for if you're trying to hire a coach. Might not be today, might be tomorrow, who knows when it is, but keep these things in mind.
Yeah.
One, like Ali said, make sure you're asking questions and ask what their experience is. And if you get pushback when asking questions to someone you're going to work with for an extended amount of time, like automatically, I would feel uncomfortable working with someone if they can't answer a few basic questions.
Right. And that's the reality of it. If you, it is an intimate relationship. If you can't get a straightforward question from the jump, then I want you to say, you know what, I'm going to listen to my gut because that feels weird. And you don't have to work with somebody just because like you get on a Zoom call with them. you have the full right to like be like, you know what, wasn't a good fit. Because as coaches, we do that too, right? Like it's totally in your realm to be like, I'm kind of getting a weird vibe.
Doing my last coach that I hired to help me with my autoimmune journey, I think I talked to 6 coaches.
Yeah.
Was I hired the first one I talked to.
But hey, you went out there and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do some research.
Yeah, and I did not get any weird gut feelings with her. I felt super connected. This would be a good other thing for us to talk about, the last people we hired and why.
Right, yeah.
And also, like, when I talked to all the other ones, I had varying levels of, like, my bullshit meter going up. I was like, that's weird. I've never heard of that. Like, I don't know about that. And that's why I ended up with that one.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's also this is a green flag moment. Listen to your bullshit o-meter because it's never wrong. Oh, I love that. So we mentioned talking about like if you get any pushback, that's a red flag. Another big one that we talked about is utilizing one method for all clients. And let's talk about that.
Yeah, so kind of back to like the Optavia thing or Beachbody, even for talking like the pyramid scheme coaching ones. Like if someone is, I'm an Optavia coach or I use the Beachbody method, right? Your coach should not be using one method for everyone. Because like we talked about in the beginning, we like doctors, like practicing medicine, your bodies are not all the same. So one packet, one pill, whatever it is, works for every single person.
Yeah.
It's not. You want someone that has lots of different methods and is willing to try different things because they're experienced.
Yes.
So if they're using one method for everyone, odds are they're using that because they don't know anything else.
Exactly. And there's so many different types of methods that you may be maybe unsure of, like, well, what are they talking about? But different diets like keto or only, doing, eating between certain windows, intermittent fasting. These are forms of like methods that someone may use because they're not really sure how to get a person to lose weight.
Right.
Like someone comes to me and I don't know what I'm talking about. And they're like, yeah, I want to lose like 30 pounds. I'm going to be like, all right, you know what? Let's cut carbs. That's going to work. But they're going to package it like, my method works this way. We take out the carbs because then your body's going to run on the fat. And then you're going to be burning 3 times as many fat cells. And then you're going to be a super person. And then you're going to have abs in 2 weeks. And it's like, okay, I want that. Like, that sounds good. So I might sign up for it. But really, it's not necessary. And if that's their method, then maybe we kind of need to question it.
Right. And kind of like from another aspect of like what tools like are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like for me, I have to eat gluten-free based on my autoimmune.
Sure.
Mean that all my clients are gluten-free? Like, no, literally maybe 2 of them, and they have autoimmune diseases.
Yes.
It just depends on what the person is doing. Like I saw on TikTok, this girl was getting blasted, which I think she should have been. Because she was a carnivore specific coach.
Oh.
I don't know who it was. We're not going to give
I don't know who it, I mean, I've seen so many videos, but it's just whenever we get into only eating one macronutrient, like all protein, it's like,
right, that's getting a little bit sketchy.
Yeah.
But when you were looking at like people like that, odds are they maybe don't really know what they're doing, or not going to be, helpful for everyone they actually need to help. So always make sure, see what kind of tools they have, maybe even ask, hey, what kind of experience do you have with clients? Like, who can you actually help? And that's on person to person for sure. If you're, let's say, like a mom, for a new mom coach for moms that just gave birth, right? I'm not someone that feels comfortable helping them because that's just not my specialty.
Yeah.
But if that's someone's specialty, that's great. But not if they're like, oh, we only do keto for new moms. Okay, that's probably not what we need to do.
Right. There's what you just said was so great because there is such a big difference there. If someone goes to your page, they are like, oh, Maddie's going to help me get strong. Like, we're going here for strength. If I'm a new mom I'm like 6 weeks postpartum. I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to work with a coach. I'm not going to go with you, not because you're not smart or qualified, but it's like, she might have experienced this and it doesn't seem like on her page we're talking about pregnancy or postpartum. So I'm going to go somewhere else. But again, it's not like I would go to somebody that's like keto for new moms. No, I'm going to look for somebody that works with postpartum care and maybe a pelvic floor specialist. And we're looking for different things, like different ways to help our body, not just like diet tools.
Yes, you don't want to base your search on a specific diet and base it off of maybe where you're currently at or what you're trying to accomplish. Like my coach works with a lot of autoimmune diseases and the gut, and that's what I need, right? So what I didn't need is a keto, bodybuilder, right? I need someone to fix an autoimmune disease. So that makes a ton of sense.
Even when looking for your coach, something that you would want to like even avoid searching is like, I'm sure, we see on TikTok or on Instagram, it's like these different supplements to heal your gut. Like if you're looking at this in a lens of like, I'm a coach, I know how to direct myself accordingly. But like an important thing is not looking at like a certain diet or a certain method to like heal your gut or supplements or that sort of stuff. But it's looking at like how you said, I'm going to look for a coach that is going to help me get to my goals. And some of those keywords I might plug in versus a diet to plug in, I think is a really, really important part. Because I mean, think about it. Years ago, what would we have done? We might have plugged in like quick weight loss coach or something like that.
Yes.
Because it's like, damn girl, I need this off quick. And now we know it's like, all right, well, that would not be super helpful. So I like that you pointed that out. I thought that was important.
Yeah. And kind of just touching on, like you already said, keto, same thing with intermittent fasting. It's a tool in the toolbox, but you don't want to search intermittent fasting coach, right?
Yeah.
Why are you searching that? It's a method. Do you want to live your life like that?
Right.
That's another thing about, like, is that how you want to live the rest of your life? Skipping carbs since you're on keto or eating in a restricted window? Probably not. So keeping those things in mind as well, I think is important.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
I would say 3 maybe. A red flag, a coach promising results in a specific...
Ooh, yes.
A coach promising results in a specific amount of time. This is something I have never, ever, ever, ever done. Never done because I knew the consequences.
Yeah, right. You're like, oh shit, if I don't deliver, how annoyed and pissed off are they going to be?
Yes, very. I think a really great example was my client Carrie, which is on my page a lot. When we first started together, I told her this was going to take some time.
Yeah.
And I think even from that perspective, like a year down the road, we're still working together, going on 3 years now. She was like, you know what, when you said that to me, I was like, okay, I'm in it then. Like, it was really nice for her to hear that because I wasn't like, oh yeah, we're going to lose 103 pounds in 6 months, right? I gave the expectations, and if you're working or potentially working with a real coach, they're not going to set you up from failure off the jump just to get your money.
Right. That is a key difference, right? Like I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw this Optavia video, and this person had lost 50 pounds in 3 months.
Oh.
Now, from a fat loss coach's perspective, I'm like, holy shit, red flag. Because what that tells me is you're losing that rapid amount of weight in a short period of time. Mm-hmm. You're not eating anything. Your relationship with food is definitely messed up. Mm-hmm. You're probably way overdoing exercise and cardio, and you're going to gain it back because that is not sustainable. What happens when you go to a wedding or you have different events? You're not going to be eating your little food packets. Mm-hmm. So as a coach, I think if I hear a timeline and it's really crazy results in a short amount of time, I want you to always think, ooh, red flag, because you have 2 coaches telling you right here. We work with women who either want to lose fat or have been under eating, want to build muscle. we know that it takes time, and you see them on our page. We're posting about them. Our ladies look amazing. They're getting amazing results, but that takes time. Like,
Yeah.
Most of my clients are with me for 2 years minimum. And it's not because we do things slow on purpose, but it's because there's a way we do this. We want you to be able to have a healthy relationship with food, to be able to reach your results, have these amazing transformations mentally, physically, emotionally. And we want you to be like healthy doing it. That's a green flag. You telling your client it's going to take a while is a green flag, because you're being honest and you're being upfront and you're not just bullshitting her like what a lot of diets can do.
Right. And I think if you're interviewing coach, a lot of times I get asked like, oh, how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
And I always say it's going to take however much long time it takes, or how much you need it to take. Everybody is different. There's no like little setting I can look on in your brain and see, okay, to reach our results, it's going to take X amount of months. There's nothing like that. Life changes. Life happens. You might get sick. There might be a loss in the family. Another emergency might happen. We might be working on like, let's just get through the day for like months. No one knows. Allie doesn't know. I don't know. So when you ask your coach that, they should tell you something similar. Like, don't know how long it takes. Here's how long, like Allie said, most women I work with, we work for this amount of time on average, and it always depends on their goals. What beforehand? What's your history look like? Where are you at now? What can you put into this? It all depends on those things.
And that is, it's such an honest thing as a coach, and you have to coach with integrity, right? Or otherwise, what the hell are we doing? And I think that question can throw some coaches off that are new to the space or that don't really know what they're doing, because if that timeline is not short enough, it can throw people off. But I'm always honest like you, and I'll say, if we look at the science and you want to lose this amount of weight, it could take X amount of months. However, you are human, and I'm going to be real with you. Shit is going to happen, and you are going to fall off of your plan. I know it, because I've been there, because this is something new for you. And so we talk with our prospective clients or clients as humans and not just looking at them as a number. And so we're not afraid to give a real answer, or to give an answer that they might not be happy with, because we actually care, versus my 90-day program is going to have you down 30 pounds and we're going to be able to rock that bikini and have abs. And in 90 days, you are going to feel like your best self. And it's like, well, how do you know? How do you know in 90 days? So that's a huge thing to look out for, which you'll see a lot of people on Instagram lose X amount of weight in 90 days. Just look out for it. You'll see, just look out for it, people.
Let's lose X pounds and X amount of weight on anyone's profile. I'm like, don't even follow me. Like,
yeah, bye. Bye, unfollow.
Yeah. And I'm like, I hate that stuff. Because a lot of it is in the bio, because I've seen that. Like, you're looking at different profiles and that's your eye, because you're like, I have vacation in 45 days. If I could lose 30, that'd be great, right? I can see how that can catch someone's eye. So
100%.
You see that, stay away from that.
It's only going to cause you more damage.
Yes. Another one, I think, which is still crazy. This one like grinds my gears, because I'm like, how do people not know? How do people not know? Like, from the client perspective, from you guys watching, and from the coach's perspective, like, I don't know how they're still unaware of this. Giving out meal plans.
Yeah.
Illegal. Let me repeat this. Giving out meal plans is illegal unless you are a registered dietitian. Guess what? Me and Allie are not RDs. Guess what? We don't give out meal plans. I've never given one out. I had a client in the summer, and I told her exactly what I do, what you're going to get, tons of education, all that stuff. And she left after a month because I didn't give her a meal plan. When I told her, hey, we don't do meal plans, I'm not comfortable with that. I can give you someone who does,
right,
but we're not going to do that. It's illegal. And there are so many people on TikTok, on wherever, still pushing that, and people get in the DMs like, hey, like, do you give out meal plans? Illegal.
And I told you this, I got the wildest DM from a person in my circle about how during like the height of the pandemic, they were like, all right, I want to lose weight. So they hired a coach and they gave them a meal plan. And the reason why, even when a registered dietitian, somebody who is completely qualified and it is within their realm to give out meal plans, I still do not believe that they are the best way to get from point A to point B with your goals, because it is a direction. It's saying, here, do this every single day, eat this. Like, if I'm putting together some IKEA furniture, yeah, I want directions. But if I'm trying to like lose weight, I don't necessarily want long-term to be on a meal plan looking at my directions every single day.
Yes.
Because like, will it work? Sure. How long though? And so I got the craziest message. This woman had done she only lasted for 6 weeks. And even that, I'm like, wow, that was kind of a long time. And the meal plan was all clean foods, nothing to be seasoned, no salt, no pepper, no substitutions, no condiments. Looking at it, I was like, yeah, I would not want to eat this. One, because you're telling me to, and I'm an adult and I like have willpower. That is just irritating. But two, how realistic is that? Like, you have to make separate meals just for yourself, and like you're probably making your kids or your partner or maybe roommates, they're all having other stuff, and you're like, wow, I can't even put salt on this. Like,
yeah, that
sucks to me. And she said verbatim, it became exhausting to eat because I was so miserable. Yeah. And to me, that is the saddest thing in the world. And that's why, even if I got to the point where I was qualified to do so, I wouldn't, because that doesn't teach us anything. And to hear that made her so miserable, she was like, I just don't want to eat. This is too much. That is so sad to me. And as a like coach to a fellow coach, I would be like, you might want to rethink what's happening, because that is a really sad thing to be putting out into the world.
Yeah. And like you said, like the IKEA thing was kind of a good metaphor for that, because IKEA directions teach you how to make the IKEA furniture, but you're not IKEA directions to become a carpenter.
Right. Yes. Right. Oh, Maddie, that was so good. You're like, oh shit.
So with food, you're going to get a meal plan. You're going to learn how to make that exact meal and nothing else. You're not going to learn how to cook for yourself on a regular basis. You're not going to learn what foods make sense. You're not going to learn what, if I need a high protein snack, what do I do? How do I get, those are all the things that a real coach will help you with. Not to say an RD is not a real coach, but that's why me and Allie don't use meal plans, besides them being illegal, because it's not teaching you guys anything. It's just giving you a blank slate and IKEA directions on how to make IKEA furniture. That's all it's doing.
Yeah. And you know, I can say this because Maddie and I have been in such like tight circles that our main goal is to teach. Like, we do not want you to be dependent on us. I want to teach you all of the things that you need to be successful. And like, if I'm just in a coaching business just to get transformations and make money, that is going to be really apparent. Those are some red flags you should watch out for. Like, again, people that are promising the quick results and are promoting these crazy meal plans or different diet things. It's like, you have to look out. Do they really want you to learn, or is it just give me your money so I can get a good transformation and you go off on your way and probably gain the weight back because they didn't teach you anything?
Exactly. And I think we kind of talked on this one a little bit when it comes to using a specific diet, but if they're pushing a specific supplement and having you buy that supplement until never ending, right? They're making money off that, and another reason, hey, like red flag, like we do not all need the same supplements, and your coach, a real coach, would not have you on a plan that you're paying them this much and also paying them $500-600 another for supplements that you really don't need.
I don't know if you have ever experienced this. I just remember this. I was once in a mentorship when I first started coaching, and they told me that if I had any affiliate links for like supplements or whatever, put it in my client handbook, and like put recommendations like protein powder and then like with a link, so that like I could also kind of make money off of like if I was already affiliated with things. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that, because again, one, like that to me is just so sleazy and slimy and like gross. And two, I'm not out here just like slinging supplements. Like I'm not, like I'm not out here to be like, oh yeah, you need this, you need this, you need this.
Right.
No, supplements can be incredibly helpful. When I was trying to figure out my hormones and get things regulated, the amount of shit that I was on was just insane. However, I was working with a professional. These things were needed for a period of time. Do I still have to take them today? No, which I'm so glad for.
Right.
However, I needed them. So it's not to say that supplements are all bad, but it's like we need to be really aware of who is telling us to take supplements and who is qualified to tell us to take supplements.
Right. And the only times that I feel like I've ever suggested to take supplements is like the protein powder one.
Yeah, of course.
That one, if we're really struggling to get protein in, or they want some more variety.
Sure.
More variety. And if you like a specific one, I don't think there's shame in putting it out there, but you don't need to push it down. Coaches don't need to push down your throat. You have to take this. If you
right.
protein amazingly, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have clients, should there be specific things I should be buying? Oh yeah, just remember this one. My one long-term client, she was like, hey, should I be taking creatine? And I was like, actually, that would be great to add in. It's not a make or break for your body transformation. It's a great thing to add in, especially for women, especially for, all the great tremendous. But instead, she stopped buying BCAAs because we don't need BCAAs. You slam protein. Let's take creatine instead. So being mindful, and if it's an actual coach, not a fake Optavia, nutrition packet coach, they'll know what you actually need based on what's going on with your body.
100%. Because again, so many times, and I think more in like 2017, or well, maybe like 2015 to like 2017, supplements and like all over the place, like people, and I mean, probably that is still going on, but like I remember it was so prevalent, like every other freaking Instagram post, it's just like all these different supplements and shakes and all that sort of stuff in different stacks. And that was really easy for people to buy into because they're looking at these people with great bodies and they're like, oh, that must be how they're doing it. Yeah. So like, you don't need supplements to have an amazing transformation and to see changes. It can be helpful in certain situations, but like if a coach is like, you need to buy these supplements, you don't. Run the other way, because that is just like the cheesiest thing I've ever heard.
100% agree. Actual green flags, like what should
yes.
Good.
We're like, okay, so these are all the things to like avoid, and it's like, okay, well, what do I do?
This bashing on everyone we see on Instagram.
But you know what? Sometimes these conversations need to be had because it's like there's so much bullshit. So now for the green flags.
We already said when you ask questions, there's no pushback. They just, right? Not a bad thing to repeat that. Just if you ask me what certifications I have, how can I trust you? And I've had that happen with a current client, and I answered those fine. I said, hey, this is who I work with. This is what experience I have. And also we'll add that to the other one. But just so you know, they should be able to answer. If they are answering, that's good.
Yeah. And I think it's also really important that if you have any questions, like I have several clients that are so curious about what we're doing and how the process works. And they really like me to break things down. So they're like, if I know the nitty gritty, I'm going to do these things, or it makes more sense to me. Mm-hmm. And so your coach should be able to explain why you're doing something and explain it in depth, not just, oh, you want to lose weight, so we're going to do a calorie deficit. Like, that's going to make us lose weight. No, if you got a question, your coach should be able to answer that and explain it in a way that makes sense for you, because it's really like we're going back to school. We're learning new things. So that one is really important. And then the second one.
Showing they invest in themselves with mentorship, with education, with just investing in their education and how they can help you. I think that's super important, because nutrition is changing. Yep. The stuff I know now makes me think back when I first started, like I knew nothing. I felt like I knew nothing. There's probably, I'll look in 5 years and be like, wow, I knew nothing.
Right.
I think a lot of coaches who are okay with knowing nothing because they're ongoing learning are okay with that. They all probably have that same feeling. You're going to learn more. So if the coach you're talking to is investing in their education in some way, shape, or form, that's a green flag.
Yeah, it is, because as we talked about earlier, it is okay to not know everything. And I'm never going to know anything, and I'm totally okay with that. And it's not me saying that like I'm a loser and I just like can't know everything. It's me saying that like I'm always going to keep learning and keep putting myself in situations where I'm going to be like, oh shit, learned something new. Let me put it in the toolbox for my clients, because I know it's going to come out at some point.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Another green flag is not telling you what to eat, or specifically, when to eat it, or type of food you have to eat. Thinking back, I had a client and she told me her trainer back in wherever place she was in was like, you're not allowed to eat avocados because they have a lot of fat. And that's what she told me. I was like, okay, well, that's very relative to the situation.
Yeah, right. Like a lot of fat for who are we talking about? What's the situation?
Yeah. So they're not telling you what to eat. They're telling you when you ask them, like, how does coaching look like? Things like that. Mm-hmm. That's
green flag. A coach that does not give you a list of like what you cannot eat. A coach should be able to teach you what foods are going to, help you reach your goals, like why we need protein, carbs, and fats. And then along the process, you are going to work together. It is a relationship. It's not just what I say or what Maddie says. With our clients, there is a very open dialogue. And from the beginning, if there's not that open dialogue, that's really something to look out for. Yeah. Another thing that we thought was a really, really important green flag is giving you the tools and not just a cookie cutter plan. Like we keep talking to the toolbox. My imaginary toolbox is right here. I don't know where yours are, but I like to give my clients like anything in my toolbox that I can, because again, I don't want them to feel like they're dependent on me. Yes, clients have been with me. I have one client that's been with me almost 5 years, but that's not because she doesn't know what to do. That's just because we're on our own journey, and it's amazing. So when a coach can give you the tools and you can be successful and you know how to implement these tools, that is the biggest green flag, because they're actually teaching you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. More tools, better. It's not a bad thing to have many.
Not a bad thing. No, all the tools.
I think the last one is kind of the same thing, right? We'll reiterate that.
More tools in your tool belt. Yeah, and I think sometimes people that are not, in the coaching space, they may look at something and like, oh, if you're trying a lot of different things, that's bad. But from a coaching perspective, I have a lot of tools in my tool belt, because you might have had a really stressful week and we need to navigate it. Or you might be traveling and we need to navigate it. There are a lot of tools, because your life is always changing. It's moving around. We've got stress. We've got happiness. We've got maintenance. Things are good. So having a lot of tools just means you're a really versatile coach, and you can help your client through all these different scenarios and not feel stuck.
Right. And now that I think about it, another good green flag here is that I think this kind of goes hand in hand with like sales tactics.
Yeah.
But I felt like I had been pressured to make a decision like right away. And I think there's like a healthy relationship with where my one client I've had for a while, when we first were just getting started, like it went great. We had our first call, you know, talking about if we could work together. And she needed a little bit of a nudge. Like I knew she could do this, she could put in the work, and she's having sorry, windows open.
That's okay.
Amazing, got through her cut, having amazing transformation right now, but she was scared, right? Telling someone like, hey, I'm here for you. I know you're going to do an awesome job. I would love to start with you. Versus telling someone they only have X amount of hours to take advantage of this. It's going away. My door's closed to you after this. I just think from like a standpoint of like, I don't like being pushed in that way. I wouldn't like that. The deal's not going away. It's just a sales tactic. And I think that's like a red flag if they're very, very pushy, because this is a big decision. Yeah. You're making if you want to work with someone for an extended amount of time on your health. I don't take that.
Exactly. And if you are feeling pressured into a decision, then that may not be the best coach to support you. That may work for somebody else, and that's okay. But if that doesn't work for you, listen to your gut, because you don't have to make any decisions on the spot. In fact, when I have a fuck yes feeling with literally my current coach that I'm working with right now for nutrition and fitness. And yes, I am a nutrition coach. I work with fat loss clients, and I have a coach. Crazy, but like, we're people. Like, I don't want to coach myself. I want somebody else to take care of me and support me and give me this hug. I knew immediately going into the call, I was like, yeah, I'm going to work with her. I already know the pricing. I'm really just hoping she has availability to start right away. And it's also okay if you don't have that feeling. Because I'm sure, have you ever been in the position where you're like, oh, God, I don't know, I'm a little nervous, and you didn't end up working with someone?
Yeah, the first coach that I interviewed, it took me five more interviews to be like, yeah, I'm really happy with that. You know, I think 5 other coaches I had to go through and sit through and be like, and I kept getting that bad idea.
Yeah.
So, and that's okay. So you shouldn't be pressured. It's a big decision, and neither nor Allie or I want to pressure someone to a bad experience if you don't feel like it's the right fit. It has to feel like the right fit.
Exactly. Like, imagine you're putting on a pair of high heels and you're about to leave your bedroom and they're so painfully uncomfortable, but you decide to wear them out anyways.
I've done that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because I'm like, it's cute. I will be fine. It was 10 out of 10 never fine, and my feet hurt. We do not want your experience to be like that. I want your experience, Maddie wants your experience to be like you're walking on fucking clouds, because you have support, because you don't feel, tricked into something or having to take all these different supplements or different crazy diets. Like, you confidently trust who you're working with because you paid attention to green flags and red flags. And really, these things are really important because it's your health we're talking about. It's not just something small and trivial. Like, it's all of this, and that's really important to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I realize we're going on 50 minutes.
I know. I'm like, we are actually insane people right now, but we always are. We can't stop talking. But is there anything kind of like closing thoughts you want to wrap up, or anything you got going on that you want people to be aware about?
Closing thoughts. I think it's the biggest thing is like listen to your gut, and if they look like a quote unquote fraud or have a fancy Optavia or Beachbody, that kind of thing, or like time frame in their body, stay away from them. That would be like my red flag close up. We can do the green flag close up.
Yeah.
Events I have, my Fit and Healthy Girls Vacation Guide just started yesterday. 91 women in there.
Hell yeah. I love that.
So if you want to go on vacation guilt-free, it literally just started last night, so you can 100% jump in. You can just go to my bio or just send me a DM and I'll get you in there.
Amazing. I love that. And I would say my closing thought is just, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. It's so cliche and it kind of sounds dumb, but it's true. If somebody is promising you results in 90 days, how do they know that? If somebody's telling you cut carbs and you lose all this weight, how do they know that? Like, stay curious instead of being complacent and just kind of taking it for face value. When you stay curious, you're going to start to see some green flags, some red flags, and you're going to trust that gut. I love this conversation, and my birthday is on Friday, and I have a big birthday announcement, and I'm fucking excited. And I've been talking about it for over a month, and I'm about to like spill the beans, but I'm not, because gotta wait until Friday. But I'm gonna be sharing that on my story, on my feed. So guys, just stalk us, go to Maddie's group, hang out with me, do whatever you gotta do, and we will be back next month with another juicy topic.
Awesome. Well, talk to you then.
Bye, Maddie.
Bye, guys.